Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. A kleptomaniac, a smooth-talking hypnotist, and an evil plan using a trance. This week we're going back to 1950 for a film noir thriller called Whirlpool, starring Gene Tierney, Richard Conte, Jose Ferrer, and Charles Bickford. And this is produced by and directed by Otto Preminger. So, where does our story begin this week? Well, our story begins at the Wilshire department store in Los Angeles, California. Anne Sutton, played by Gene Tierney, the wife of Dr. William Sutton, played by Richard Conte, a successful psychoanalyst, has just been caught shoplifting at Wilshire's and loses consciousness when apprehended. She is saved from scandal when noticed by smooth-talking hypnotist David Corvo, played by Jose Ferrer, who persuades the store officials to put the mermaid pin she stole on her credit account and not prosecute. When Anne is pressured into lunch with Corvo, she assumes he is after a blackmail payment to avoid scandal towards her husband's career. A startled Anne watches Corvo tear up her check and the store record of her shoplifting and promises to cure her kleptomaniac condition. Next, Anne attends a sophisticated party with Corvo where she meets Teresa Randolph, a former lover of Corvo's, and one of her husband's patients. At the party, Corvo hypnotizes Anne into a deep sleep and instructs her to only take orders from him. Anne meets Corvo at the hotel where he lives for further therapy sessions, but refuses to go up to his suite and insists on talking in public at the hotel bar. Corvo distracts her and takes the martini glass with her fingerprints on it and her scarf. Later that night, Anne enters a trance, takes 2 recorded vinyl records from her husband's patient archives, and brings them to Teresa's house. Upon entry, she unknowingly trips the house alarm, hides the records in a closet, and discovers a body in the den. So, was the body a case of murder? Does a trance turn to guilty as charged? Or does a psychoanalyst prevail over a hypnotist? Based on a 1946 novel, Methinks the Lady, by American novelist and screenwriter Guy Endore, this film used some of the same works of art from the film Laura, also directed by Otto Preminger and starring Gene Tierney. This film received a 92% rating from the film critic Rotten Tomatoes, with such claims as a very good movie, good staging, camera work, film editing, music, and outstanding acting performances. A brilliant movie, witty script, and Jose Ferrer's virtuoso performance is film caviar. And I totally agree, he makes an amazing villain. And our trivia question this week: was this the final film role for someone who starred in our film? Was this the final film role for someone who starred in our film? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. Now, since Dr. Sutton's sessions were recorded on records, this week for history we're going to talk about the phonograph record and electrical recording. So a phonograph record, or vinyl, is an analog storage medium in the form of a flat disc with an inscribed modulated groove. Previous to the record, Thomas Edison invented the first phonograph in 1877, which etched sound recordings onto phonograph cylinders. Edison's phonograph could both record and reproduce sound via 2 separate needles. Manufacture of disc records began in the late 19th century, at first competing with earlier cylinder records. The first commercially sold disc records were created by Emile Berliner in the 1880s. Emil improved the quality of recordings, resulting in a sound quality equal to Edison's cylinders. Emil Berlinet and manufacturing associate Eldridge R. Johnson combined their efforts in 1901 to form the Victor Talking Machine Company in Camden, New Jersey, whose products would come to dominate the market for several decades. Berlinet's Montreal factory, which became the Canadian branch of the RCA Victor, still exists today. Electrical recordings, like they're using in our film, began during the first half of the 1920s. Engineers at Western Electric, as well as independent inventors, developed technology for capturing sound with a microphone, amplifying it with vacuum tubes, and then using the amplified signal to drive an electromagnetic recording head. Electric's innovations resulted in a broader and smoother frequency response, which produced a fuller, clearer, and a more natural sounding recording. Victor and Columbia licensed the new electrical system from Western Electric and recorded the first electrical discs during the spring of 1925. Victor's first public demonstration was at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel on October 6, 1925. Sales unfortunately plummeted during the Great Depression of the 1930s, almost destroying the entire record industry. But in 1932, RCA Victor introduced a basic and inexpensive turntable called the Duo Junior. Designed to be connected to your radio receiver and with a price of around $15, it was instrumental in revitalizing the industry. Pretty amazing. And the two albums on my back shelf, well, I bought those in the late 1960s. Those are two of my Monkees albums. Isn't that cool? Yes, that's right, I'm older than Google. And the answer to our trivia question this week, was this the final film role for someone who starred in our film? Yes. The sophisticated party put on by Tina Cosgrove in our film was played by English stage and film actress and acting coach Constance Collier. A drama coach for many famous actors, including Audrey Hepburn, Vivian Leigh, Marilyn Monroe, and Katharine Hepburn. A writer of hit plays and films, she enjoyed and received critical praise for her performances while active from 1894 to 1949. And Constance Collier has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Isn't that amazing? I'd like to give out a big thank you to my new subscribers this week, and for everyone else checking out and spending the time on my channel this week. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you back next week.